Sometimes, all he wanted was to see you come and stop for a few minutes, to look you in the eyes, to feel your hand on your head, to lie there, close. Just to say with my body, I've been waiting for you all day. But in the hurry, in the tiredness, in the routine, you went straight through. And he stood there, in silence. Without understanding, but accepting. Because that's how he loves you, not demanding anything, just wishing for a little piece of your time. This video is an invitation to remember the value of a presence, a look, a care that costs nothing, but anything goes. Maybe today there is still time to look at it calmly. Maybe you can still see everything he tries to tell you without a single word. Comment, hear the name of your dog. Have you ever stopped to think about how long he waited just for you today? Tell us, what does he do when all he wants? Is it just a moment by your side? He didn't ask for expensive toys. He did not ask for long walks in distant places. He just wanted to see you. I wanted to feel you around, even if it was for a few minutes. The sound of her voice was enough to make his little heart beat lighter. And every time you walked in the door, he got up with hope. Because, for him, just being by his side was already the most important moment of the day. But you were tired, distracted, and maybe you didn't even notice. He stood there, looking at you, waiting for a gesture, a caress, a long look. But you walked right by, with your cell phone in your hand, your head full, your shoulders heavy, and he understood. In his own way, he understood. He lay down in the corner, sighed deeply, and retreated, in silence, not out of sadness, but out of love, for knowing how to wait, for trusting that you would soon turn your eyes to him, because, even without words, he always believed in you. He knew that when the noise of the world subsided, you would remember to come back. In that moment of silent waiting, he didn't feel rejected. You felt that life sometimes demands too much from you and that he needs to love you even on the days when you forget to love yourself. He doesn't want more time than you can give. He just wants to be part of your time. Because his world revolves around him, and every second by his side is a gift. Even in the corner, even in the silence, he accompanies you with eyes full of tenderness. He doesn't expect big parties. He just waits to be noticed. Because being seen by you, for him, is the purest form of happiness. And even though the day has been long, even if your mind is far away, it is still there. Firm.com, patient as if the mere fact of loving you was reason enough to keep waiting. And that, in itself, says a lot about the beauty of his love. He doesn't give up. He doesn't hold grudges. He doesn't get tired of waiting for crumbs of attention. He just wants to remind you, in his own way, that true love is presence even when there's no answer. And that sometimes, a returned look can heal everything, including what you didn't even know was hurt. How many times did he just want to share the silence at the end of the day with you? To be by your side while you rested? To follow the rhythm of your breathing? He didn't care what you did or didn't. He just wanted presence? A whole time? Even if it was short. A moment when you look at him and say, I've waited for you, too. Because, for him, that was the most beautiful way to say, I love you too. He needed no words, no explanations. What he sought was not constant attention, but true attention. The one that comes from the heart, from the sincere gesture, from the long look. He wanted to accompany you without having to be the center. Being there, quiet, knowing that you also wanted him around. And, deep down, this simplicity was what made his love so great. Because he knew how to love even what we have left. Silence, tiredness, absence. And even when you didn't say anything, he understood everything. He felt the weight of the day in his breath. And, with his calm body by his side, he tried to offer you the best he had. Calm, presence, pure affection. He didn't come to take up space, he came to take care of it. Because, even without knowing it, you also needed that divided silence. And he knew exactly when to be company even without making a sound. The truth is that the time he asked you for was not for him, it was for you. It was to strengthen the bond. Both hearts, renew the joy of small meetings. It was to remind you that the purest love that exists lives there, with 4 legs and a giant heart. But, in the rush, you moved away. Unintentionally, she stopped seeing how much he still expected. He still dreamed of the noise of his footsteps coming towards him, and yet, he was still there, faithful, quiet, patient. He didn't make a fuss, he didn't demand, he didn't charge. I just looked at you. That look that crosses any barrier. A look that carries questions and answers, longing and gratitude. A look that, in itself, said, I don't need much, just a little bit of you. But that day, you didn't realize it. And he, as always, waited with a heart full of love and no sorrow. In that look, there was history. There were memories of the days when you lay on the ground just to be next to him, of the walks in which the world seemed to fit inside a leash and 2 smiles. He remembered everything, even if you had already forgotten it. Because dogs guard the good times with a zeal that few humans understand. They don't hold grudges, they hold affection, even when it's rare. And that's why, even though he wasn't seen, he stayed, in the gentle hope that her gaze would meet his again. And maybe you only noticed it later, when everything was calmer, when the silence of the house seemed fuller than before. It was at that moment that you missed that look. From the constant presence that never asked you for anything but true attention. And in this emptiness, you understood. The purest love often does not scream, it just waits. And the time we don't give to those who love us, one day, is needed inside us. But he never stopped believing in you, and that's okay. Sometimes, life really gets tired. We forget to look around, to value the small moments, but he still didn't give up on you. He continued there, celebrating each return, even if without a party. Waiting for each touch, even if brief. Celebrating every breath that came from his presence. He knew you loved him, even when you didn't show it. He knew, because love, for him, does not depend on tests. It depends on constancy. And you, even though you were absent at times, were his home. The reference, the port, the entire universe. It was in you that he found meaning. And that was why, even in silence, he remained. It didn't matter if you had a hard day, if you didn't smile, if you forgot to call him. He loved you for who you were, it not for what you did. His love was never conditioned by gestures. It was sustained by presence, by bonding, by surrender. He recognized her smell, the sound of her footsteps, even the rhythm of her heart. And even when you didn't know where else to find peace, he knew where you lived inside. Because, for him, you were home. It was shelter. It was certainty. And this kind of love, pure as that, is rare even among humans. On days when everything seemed confusing, he was the one who remained clear. On the days when you withdrew from the world, it approached without invading. And it was in this silent fidelity that he demonstrated what he knew. That love does not have to be perfect to be true. That sometimes the greatest proof of affection is not to leave when the other closes off. He knew all of this, not because someone taught him but because his heart knew how to love. And he chose to love you, just as you are. The years passed, and you noticed the signs. The gaze slowed down, the body more tired, the energy different. And suddenly, that time he had been asking for so much now seemed to slip through his fingers. Now, it was you who wanted time to stop. I wanted to hold the moment, the touch, the presence. But he, once again, looked at you calmly, and forgave everything, as he always did, because loving, for him, was more important than understanding. You began to pay attention to details that once seemed ordinary. The way he stood up slowly, the longer time it took to settle in, the longer pauses between one step and another, the deeper sigh before going to bed. Everything said that time was ticking in, that now, more than ever, every second was worth gold. And then you got it. What he wanted from the beginning was never much. It was presence. It was unhurried love. It was the whole of you, for a few minutes. And in that instant, repentance gave way to gratitude. Because, even without speaking, he was saying, you arrived on time. In time to see what matters. In time to feel what he was running through before. In time to give back, with a full heart, everything he has always given you. And even though the days with him were decreasing, their intensity grew. Now it was you who lay on the floor, who waited for the gaze, who sought silence. Because you finally understood, real love is shared time, even if it's the end. Because that's what he always did. He forgave his silences, his delays, his absences. He knew that deep down, you loved him. And now, with tight time, you have begun to give back what he has always given you, attention, presence, affection. And even in the last few days, he seemed to smile. Because anyway, you were there, entirely. And in that last moment, in that last look, he didn't ask for anything. Not one more walk, not one more word. He just stared at you with that same old gaze, full of love and acceptance. As if to say, now, yes, that was the time I wanted. And then, gently, disconsole calm the assurance that the love you experienced was true. If this message touched your heart, share your story with us. Comment, hear the name of your dog and tell me, what was the most beautiful moment you lived together? Or maybe that love-filled silence that only the two of you understood. Let's turn the comments into a wall of affection where each memory turns into light. And if you feel this pure and true love, right from the heart, I love dogs. Because when we declare love, it grows, spreads, and reaches those who need to feel it most. Take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you continue to receive messages like this, made with soul, to warm up your day, calm your heart, and remind you how sacred the connection with our four-legged companions is. And if you know someone who is in need of a cuddle, a word of hope, or a hug in the form of a video, shares that prayer. Sometimes, a simple gesture is what is missing to heal a tired heart. Here, the love for our puppies is taken seriously. Here, every memory matters, and every heart that loves finds acceptance.